A world on fire, the road to global war, World War II, a global conflict of unimaginable destruction. Millions perished, entire cities lay in ruins. But how did the world plunge into such darkness? What events led to this catastrophic war? To understand, we must journey back to the aftermath of World War I. We must examine the grievances, the ideologies, and the fateful decisions that lit the fuse of this global conflict. The treaty's heavy hand fell upon Germany with a force that would reverberate through the decades. The seeds of resentment in Germany were planted deep within the national psyche. The year is 1919. World War I has just ended, leaving Europe in a state of fragile peace and tentative hope. The Treaty of Versailles, designed to ensure peace, instead sowed the seeds of future conflict. It was a document meant to prevent another war, but its terms were harsh and punitive. Germany, blamed for the war, faced harsh punishments. They lost significant territory, which was a blow to their national pride and economic stability. Their military was severely restricted, reducing their ability to defend themselves and leaving them feeling vulnerable and humiliated. And they were burdened with immense reparations, a financial strain that crippled their economy and led to widespread poverty and unemployment. This humiliation and economic hardship fueled resentment among the German people. The once proud nation was now struggling to survive, and the people felt the weight of the world's judgment upon them. They felt betrayed by the world, abandoned by their leaders, and desperate for change. The sense of injustice and anger simmered beneath the surface, waiting for a spark to ignite it. This anger and instability created fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. Political unrest became the norm, and radical groups began to gain influence, promising to restore Germany's former glory. The seeds of World War II were sown in this turbulent soil as the nation looked for a way to reclaim its power and pride. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to secure peace, had instead laid the foundation for another devastating conflict. Shadows rise, the rise of totalitarian regimes. In the early 20th century, the world witnessed the emergence of regimes that would change the course of history forever. These regimes, characterized by absolute control and suppression of dissent, cast long shadows over the nations they ruled. In the 1920s and 1930s, a new threat emerged: totalitarian regimes. These regimes were born out of the chaos and instability that followed World War I. Economic hardships, political instability, and social unrest created fertile ground for the rise of authoritarian leaders who promised order and national rejuvenation. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party exploited the economic crisis and national humiliation. The Treaty of Versailles had left Germany in a state of despair, and the Great Depression only worsened the situation. Hitler, with his fiery oratory and promises of a better future, captivated a nation desperate for change. Hitler, a charismatic and ruthless leader, promised to restore Germany to its former glory. He used propaganda, mass rallies, and a cult of personality to consolidate his power. The Nazi regime quickly moved to eliminate political opposition and establish a totalitarian state. Meanwhile, in Italy, Benito Mussolini established a fascist dictatorship. Mussolini, who had founded the Fascist Party in 1919, capitalized on the post-war economic turmoil and social unrest. He promised to revive Italy's economy, restore national pride, and create a new Roman Empire. He promised strength and national revival. Mussolini's regime was marked by aggressive nationalism, militarism, and the suppression of political dissent. Like Hitler, Mussolini used propaganda and mass mobilization to maintain control and project an image of invincibility. In Japan, militarists seized control, driven by expansionist ambitions in Asia. The Japanese military, frustrated by the limitations imposed by civilian government, sought to expand Japan's influence and territory. They believed that Japan's destiny was to dominate Asia and establish a new order. These totalitarian powers, with their ideologies of hate and aggression, would soon plunge the world into darkness. The ambitions of these regimes led to the outbreak of World War II, a conflict that would result in unprecedented destruction and loss of life. The rise of totalitarianism serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of defending democratic values. A faint hope, the failure of appeasement. As Hitler's aggression grew, European leaders clung to the hope of peace. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They hoped that by giving in to some of Hitler's demands, they could avoid another devastating war. But appeasement only emboldened Hitler. He saw it as weakness. He annexed Austria. Then, he set his sights on Czechoslovakia. The world watched with bated breath. Would appeasement prevail, or would it be the prelude to another world war? The Spark invasion of Poland and the outbreak of war. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler's armies invaded Poland. This act of aggression shattered the fragile peace. Great Britain and France, realizing the folly of appeasement, declared war on Germany. World War II had begun. The world watched in horror as the Nazi war machine marched across Europe. The Soviet Union, under Stalin, also joined the fray, carving up Poland with Germany. The world was at war once again. A world at war. A global conflict ignited. The invasion of Poland ignited a global conflict. The war raged across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Millions were drawn into the fighting. New technologies of warfare emerged, leading to unprecedented levels of death and destruction. From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, battles raged. The world witnessed unimaginable atrocities, including the Holocaust, a systematic genocide that claimed the lives of 6 million Jews. Remembering the past, shaping the future lessons from World War II. This chapter of history is not just a collection of dates and events, but a profound narrative that continues to influence our world today. World War II was a cataclysm that forever shaped the course of human history. It was a global conflict involving more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The war resulted in significant geopolitical changes and the establishment of the United Nations. Born out of the ashes of a previous war, it was fueled by unchecked aggression and failed diplomacy. The Treaty of Versailles sowed seeds of resentment and economic hardship, allowing totalitarian regimes to rise. The war is a stark reminder of the human capacity for both good and evil. Atrocities like the Holocaust highlight human cruelty, yet there were countless acts of bravery and kindness. As we remember the sacrifices made, we must also heed its lessons. The veterans and countless lives lost remind us of the high price of freedom. We must stand vigilant against intolerance and oppression. The ideologies that led to World War II can resurface, and it is our duty to combat them. By understanding the events that led to World War II, we can work to prevent such tragedies. Education and awareness are powerful tools in preventing history from repeating itself. We have a responsibility to learn from history and strive for a future where peace prevails. By honoring the past and committing to a peaceful future, we can ensure that the lessons of World War II are not forgotten.